And I don't have the time to.
Good afternoon. It's 2:00 on Wednesday, May 11th. My name is Joan Jennings. I'm the Chair of the Public Art Committee. We are in City Hall in the second floor media room. I'd like to welcome our new member Graham Jones, and David Sallow has an excused absence. Megan, can you call the roll, please?
Chair Jennings,
Here?
Ms. Robinson,
Here.
Mr. Meals,
Here.
Mr. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Sallow,
Excused absence.
Mr. Stackhouse,
Here.
Ms. Hennessy,
Present.
Ms. Wood.
Here.
We do have an observer today, Jean Dinoff. Welcome, Jean. And I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the April 13th, 2022 meeting.
Moved.
Second?
Second.
Second, Graham. Are there any comments, corrections, amendments?
The Public Art Committee list, my phone number is incorrect.
Okay.
And it happens often. I'm 717 area code instead of 727. So it's an easy mistake and it happens often, but a lot of people say they can't get me and it's because they're doing the
fine.
727.
Okay.
We'll get that fixed, thank you. It's a good cloak of invisibility.
Yes.
So let me also add to that, my email address is grdngt60@gmail.com.
At Gmail.
At Gmail, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So what's your prefix?
717. Kept that Central Pennsylvania.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve with the correction to the committee list?
So moved.
Second?
Sure.
All in favor? Any objections? Motion, minutes are accepted as submitted. We just have some new guests here. Could you introduce yourselves? I think I recognize you, but,
Stephanie, yeah, I grew up in this town. I just moved back and just wanted to go to the monthly meetings. So, yeah, this is my fiance, Stephen.
Hi there.
okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, the presentation by Debbie McKinney, she contacted Diane. She's, for health reasons, she is not going to be here today, so we are going to defer the presentation to the June 8th meeting. Old business, the sports field mural. Bill, do you have any?
Yeah, I met with Jamie Taylor and a couple of the folks from Parks and Rec the other morning. And they indicated that soccer is really the only sanctioned sport that is played at Riverside. So they recommended that we look at both the tennis, which they think there's a lot of tennis activity that takes place there, and go between the tennis and the soccer and not really identify with football at all. We talked about some of the stakeholders. They said that they have a really engaged neighborhood there, especially because of the night lights, and that we might want to reach out to some of them once we're a little bit further along. I did get the name of the person that's responsible for the youth soccer program, so I will contact him the next week or so. There wasn't anyone that was really identified as being the main person for tennis, so I think maybe we just kind of include the tennis on the side towards the tennis and maybe the soccer on the side towards. They were really receptive and looked forward to something happening there. We also talked about some of the other complexes. We talked about Dorset with the basketball. They had some reservations with that they thought there may be some issues with potential vandalism at that particular location, so they were hesitant for us to do anything there. They did think there was an opportunity though over at the sports complex off of Jasmine, but because of the size of the complex, you know, it may be difficult to identify where to put things, and that is highly football and soccer at that facility. So I will contact the youth soccer folks and try to push that along for the next meeting and hopefully get some feedback so that we know what direction to go.
Bill, the neighborhood, did they identify the name of the neighborhood, or is there an HOA or anything? that
There
we
isn't
can-
an HOA, what is it, wide
View.
Wide view. Evidently, there's a fair amount of feedback that they get because of the lights and because of the activities there, that we probably want to include them to have it be a positive.
Maybe the recreation center has some contacts.
They
Yeah,
might. They might.
Bill, do you think that your research has gotten to the point where we might consider putting out a call?
That's what I would say. By the next meeting, I would hope to have had some discussion with the youth soccer. And then I think we're ready to do put a call
Okay.
to artists together.
Would you be willing to, draft some points for the
Sure,
call? And
sure.
we can work it out with Diane?
And can we see if we can take a picture of the sites that you're considering and also get some measurements?
Yeah.
We can probably help you with that if we want to meet out there to measure it.
That'd be fine. Yeah, I do have some photos of the
Good.
building.
Great.
But we do need some sizes on it. And again, with the way it's situated, I think from the fields, you can get a nice view for soccer. And then on the other side, towards the tennis courts, something for tennis.
Good.
So they were very complimentary of what was going on, what had happened at Sisler. And they had some questions, have we seen any vandalism? And I said, no, it's been nice and clean and no problems whatsoever. So,
Yeah.
Great.
I think it helps when you get the community involved.
yeah.
I think that really cuts down on a lot of things if people feel that they've had, some kind of input into a project.
So they were real receptive to,
Yeah,
moving forward with some of these.
great. So we'll anticipate.
For the June meeting.
Yeah, putting out a call after the June meeting. Okay, the Black Heritage Project. As you know, St. Petersburg artist Stephen Oliver was selected, and he's hit the ground running. He's doing extensive research and getting images. He met with Diane and I in her office, and I took him over to Annie Dabbs's house, where she has 47 million images for him to go through. And he is going to be connecting also to Milton Smith, who has ancestors who were sponge hookers. He also visited Rose Cemetery, and he's been doing a lot of reading. I spoke to him this afternoon, and I sent him some historical writing that I had. Actually, there was stuff from the Congressional Record of all things, but from the 1920s. And Diane, I believe you sent him the insurance requirements? Yeah, he said he got that, so he's working on that. Okay, so that's moving along. I think that's going to be a very interesting project. Okay, the Naiads repair. It's done, say hallelujah, okay? St. Kate's reinstalled the repaired Naiads on April 25th. As you probably are aware, one of the Naiads just fell over, and when they were examined, the other standing piece was found to be in jeopardy also. So the legs of the two standing pieces were reinforced with metal, strengthened, and the patina was refinished to match the existing finish of the statue. Illuminated art boxes, I guess we're gearing up for a third call over the summer.
Yes, and the ones that you wanted to add, I've been using Bill's images. Send those to Public Works so that they can get the other 5 installed. And the only hiccup I have right now is that some of the images that you all chose, some of them are really low res. So there's like about 4 that are kind of low resolution, so I have to recontact those artists. Some of them are from the first call, some of them are from the second call. So the majority of them are done, but I wanted to give our printer all of them at one time, so.
Yes, good idea.
So I'm working on that.
Right.
And so hopefully we'll get them all installed soon.
Right, and I believe it was sent out to you all a story about the pink buttonfish created by quote, "premier button artist Sylvia Durrell appeared in the May 7th, 2022 issue of the Hernando Sun," and the first paragraph cited the Illuminated Art Box project.
I don't think I sent it out to the pack, I apologize. I did post it on our Tarpon Arts Facebook page, so you can take a look at it there. It's been a little crazy with the Art of Health coming up. So.
Right. But it was a very nice article, and, you know, that project continues to get some positive publicity. Okay, all right, Lucianne, statue, the Elwell Pelican statue.
Yes, in your folder, the last 2 pages are a couple of drafts I put together to jumpstart our discussion on this Name the Pelican contest. I did a brief kind of flyer form, which I know Diane and her staff can enhance with their design and color skills. That's one thing for us to look at. The other is the guidelines, where we want to advertise, social media, all the various forms I could think of, the print flyer, and then press releases to your normal marketing list, Diane, with maybe a feature in the Beacon. I think a lot of people pay attention to it. Some questions I had as I was drafting it: do we want to limit this to entries from Tarpon residents only? What's a reasonable deadline date? And how, other than publicity, would we recognize the winning entry?
Well, I was thinking of possibly doing a small cash prize, you know, maybe $100.
See if you vote on
How
it.
do you feel about that,
Fine. That's
Bill? Graham?
Sure.
Okay, Robert?
How about a $100 prize and a photo with the artist on the Pelican?
Okay. Debbie?
I
like
vote for
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, well, we could definitely do a press release.
If we're considering opening it up to non-Tarpon residents, which personally I'm in favor of, would it be possible to have something next to the Pelican with the flyers and,
Yes.
you know, and a
think-
drop box so that people could
that's a
enter
good
it
idea.
right there?
That'd be a great idea, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you
What do
could
you
do the
think?
flyers.
What?
Yeah, the rain and the wind, and I don't know how you would keep them,
And
stocked and safe.
maybe like a
Well,
real estate box?
Realtors manage it, so.
Well.
You know, they can take one out.
It's a very kind of more obscure spot, you know, kind of thing. We can maybe have them at the visitor center, at the chamber.
And at the
Okay.
visitor center, but maybe the nearby businesses, like the tour boats that are there, and a couple of nearby shops.
I think it'd be easier just to put it
Signage.
online as a link and have, you know, where they can just go ahead and fill out the form online. and
Not
send
do
it
a
to us.
print flyer,
I wouldn't put them out by the statue, no.
but you
Because if
would
you
do
look
it
at-
at
yeah.
another venue?
We could do it in whatever venues you want.
Okay.
Who wants to volunteer to take them to the venues?
Now, I was wondering if we could, you know, have something close to the statue that would take people to a
Just,
to a
yeah,
website.
even a signage with a QR code or,
Well, we could use a
Sandwich
sandwich
shop,
board,
yeah.
you know, that's
Yeah.
printed
There we
nicely.
go.
With, you know, the information on it, you know, kind of thing. But, because I think you need something there to indicate that. I just don't want to put paper that's going to fly all over the sponge docks, you know, kind of thing, so.
Right, but I think the concept that there's something close to the statue.
Yeah, sure.
is-
Yeah.
will help.
Yeah, thinking about littering the sponge docks,
Yeah.
no.
Not a good thing.
Okay, deadline date. We're already in May 11th, but I mean, this is not
the end of June, June 30th?
June 30th?
I don't see if we take this through even to the end of summer when we have more tourists coming through. I mean, we've lost a lot of our tourists already, you know, going north. But and giving it more exposure that way.
Is it really urgent?
Yeah, it's really not that urgent. It's a fun thing.
Yeah. Lucianne, how do you feel about?
Yeah.
I'm neutral, whatever the
Bill,
group.
any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think there's some PR to be gotten from,
Yeah.
you know, the contest itself.
And then do you see like the plaque that goes by the statue? That's my biggest concern, is that there's nothing there about who the artist is and all that, you know, kind of thing. Do you see that being added to the plaque then? You know, like whatever they name him, you know?
Well, one of the things I'd like you to consider also is we might do, you know, the basic plaque with just the, you know, the artist name, you know, and, but it would really be nice to have the name on it. But I was also, I'm sorry, yeah,
No, go.
I was
I
also
interrupted you.
envisioning, you know, there's such a tie-in with the, you know, the historic Pelican, you know, on, in that location. I thought that maybe we'd, you know, get some kind of, maybe, you know, signage with, you know, like a story about,
Oh,
you know,
well, that's doable.
I'm sorry, Lucianne, I interrupted you.
No, I interrupted you. I see one plaque that we complete when it's named. Then it's all one narrative, makes sense.
Right.
I agree.
The only thing I wouldn't want to see is it languish too long. I think we need to set a deadline so everybody knows when the deadline is. It doesn't have to be June.
Well, even
it
if
doesn't
we
have
look
to be-
forward to like maybe even July 4th,
Yeah,
where we say it's a holiday, a lot of people in town, we've got the fireworks going on, it'll have more exposure.
yeah, whatever. I think we
What do you
should
think,
have
Joan?
an end time.
Yeah, do you think that we should, you know, end it in such a way that it could be unveiled on the 4th of July, or do
It'd
you
be
want?
great. What do you think, Lucianne?
I mean, this is not, you know, this isn't a NASA moonshot. I mean, it's.
It's not, but it is a lot of
It
fun.
could be, yeah.
It is a lot of fun.
It would be interesting if you could, I mean, the time constraints of completing the competition and then unveiling the plaque within a 4-day period, I think is a little
Tight.
ambitious.
Well, we could
That was
just,
stated
you
well.
know, do an unveiling of X the Pelican,
Yeah.
and then add the plaque later on.
That way you all can go down there with the plaque and
Right,
get pictures, and then there's another wave of publicity.
Yeah.
right. So do you want to
So-
do a,
July
and,
8th.
yeah, end of June deadline
That's good.
with a selection by the 4th of July? I think we can make up our minds by the 4th of July. Okay.
You need to, so you would have to do that at the June meeting, though, and you can't, so you're gonna have to do it at the July meeting, when you vote on it, who wins. So it can't be the 4th of July.
Yeah,
So the PAC is going to choose the name from the entries.
right.
Let me see when when the July meeting is.
So it won't end up like Boaty McBoatface.
Pelly McPelican.
Yeah.
I kind of like Pete, Pete the Pelican.
Let's see, so the second Wednesday of July is July 13th,
Okay.
which is fine, it kind of gives,
Okay,
I mean,
so
a lot
you
of
want
people
to,
travel during the 4th of July weekend, you know, too.
Right.
So
so do you want to have the contest deadline, say the July 10th?
Sure.
And then we can choose on the July 13th meeting?
That's good, because that gives you 4th of July exposure.
Right. Okay, so July 10th deadline, selection at the July 13th PAC meeting. And then, once we have that, we could do, you know, some kind of, yeah, then we could do the, a plaque and a, you know, award and, you know, a little PR event.
I'll get some signage options, just curious to see how much it would cost, and like how much information do you want to put on it,
All right.
you know, kind of thing. That kind of dictates.
Well, I was envisioning more of a resin piece than a bronze piece. Or perhaps we could even get one of those aluminum ones like we did for the key for the cultural center, because that would hold up outside, I think.
Yeah.
That was only what, it was under 300, I think, for that.
Now, how about that suggestion that we have a picture of the winner with the artist sitting on the bench with the name. Mm-hmm. So is that another event? That could be another event.
When
Yeah,
the
that would be kind of the
plaque
unveiling,
gets
Yeah.
installed.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Like that.
All right, so just to summarize, Tarpon residents only, no. The deadline date is, for submission is July 10th, selection at the July 13th PAC meeting. And then I guess at that meeting, we can decide on the, as Robert suggested, get a photograph, a photo op, and some kind of unveiling, ribbon cutting type thing. And we'll be good to go with that. So the recognition for the winning entry would be a small cash prize, say $100, and then the photo with the sculpture
A
and the
framed
statue.
photo.
Yes.
A framed
framed
photo.
Photo, yes,
Yeah, not something you tuck in your back pocket. No.
right. Frame photo with the sculpture and the sculpture. Okay, any other comments or thoughts? Anyone? Okay. I don't think we have to take a vote on this, do we? Okay, all right. I'd like to entertain a motion on the award and the timetable for the Pelican contest.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Yep.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Diane, do you need anything else from me?
Not right now.
Okay.
I'll be in contact if I do. We'll kind of play with it and see. We just got a lot of sandwich, we got some things printed, for the sandwich board that was really nice for Art of Health, so I'm thinking that might work well. We're just gonna have to ask Public Works on how to make sure that it doesn't walk away. So,
Chains.
Yes.
yes,
Big, heavy
we'll work on
chains.
that.
Okay, Lucianne, you're up again. Water project.
I am ready to draft a call for next month, but we do have 2, possibly 3 remaining issues. The first and most critical is the possible sites that the city controls at the south end of the Tarpon Trail. Do we have any movement on that?
I did not get any response from that. I'll have to reach out again, yeah. So,
I have some time if there's somebody I could
Yeah, yeah.
contact.
I'll definitely get you in touch with Tom Function.
Okay. That is what the location hinges on. Also, Robert, you were going to track down some costs.
What I've looked at is first, we talked about a misting station, right? Correct. And 2 of those, one at either end of the thing, that would not be expensive at all. I mean, they're pretty readily available. I mean, you can get maybe a high-tech commercial one that has all sorts of photoelectric cells and things like that. There's an issue with it, though, that I dealt further into it, and they don't really work.
Other than that,
I mean, you sit by a restaurant and they go psh, like that, and it's misting on you. Sorry, but if the humidity, this sounds counterintuitive, but if the humidity is above 80%, they don't work. Because the mist doesn't mist anymore, it becomes droplets.
oh dear.
All right, so, and then it doesn't work in cold weather. And think of somebody that doesn't know it's there, and they drive through it, that hits them, and they just, did something that all of a sudden, what is that, and they get upset by it. So I think the misting thing, they might work in permanent stations in restaurants and places like that, but I don't know if this would be the most advantageous. Plus, they're not visible. I mean, you don't see it coming. And all the effort would have to be in the structure that has this in it. And the maintenance of these things is supposedly pretty difficult too. With the quality of water, can plug it up. So cost-wise, it's not a problem, I don't think. I think maintenance would be more of a problem. And whatever the structure is that this is on. Now, this is an art project. It's not an overhead canopy in a restaurant. So it requires a lot more attention to that. So Lucian, I think the real emphasis on this is to be a little bit general on it. You want a water feature, but you want it on either end of the thing, if that's what we're doing with that. But that then is I started looking into it, the cost of stainless steel or other things, and then said, but what? How much? What gauge? How, So it really is something that we can't figure it out. I know that this is cost times 2 if we use that. So that really puts the budget up there. Bill, you want to?
Yeah, what if this were moved just a little bit to the side with some signage, say misting station ahead, and it's an optional thing that you don't necessarily go through it on the trail with a bicycle, so that someone, the artwork is there and it has the capability of doing some misting.
I think you could have that in it, and I think that would be up to an artist to maybe suggest that if they do it. But I think for saying that this is a misting project, I think it's too specialized in this. I think that could work. Now, the thing is the mist going all the time? And then you got the other issue of weather. You want it when it's raining, people bicycle in the rain. And so it has an attraction to it on the one hand, people who want it, I think it would work. But I think the emphasis is all going to be on what the structure is, because it's art. It needs to be interesting. It needs to be an attractive, a real attraction to this. So the people riding through on a bicycle say, hey, that's neat. Let's go all the way up to the second water feature, and then they find out, well, they're right near the docks, so they could go down to that. But
Right.
So people that ride the trail that never get off the trail is something that this could work for. So I think generally a two-part sculpture project, if it's going in this site, I don't know what your other sites are, Lucianne. Is this the one you're sort of focusing on?
That's what we're waiting for some word from
Yeah,
the city on.
if we can get that, I mean, then you do have the requirement of it being 2 pieces.
Yeah.
And they need to be similar. They don't have to be exactly the same.
They need to be related
But it
somehow.
would be an artist making a proposal for a structure that would have some kind of a water feature in it. Hopefully more successful than the one around the Naiads.
Well, I'm thinking maybe the water component ought to be optional anyway. Because, we keep running into technical difficulties, and we've said it needs to stand alone whether the water is operational or not. So I think I can draft that to suggest that could be included in the design, but not required. And maybe the suggestion of cooling through the design. I'm just fishing around right now.
That's a good emphasis of a design that has a cooling thing to it. It could be shade or it could be something like that. Let the artists, the artists are the ones
Exactly.
that are creative on this. Let them do it.
If I could throw in something here. I can confirm from a technical perspective that as Robert says, when the relative humidity in the area is 80% or above, misting does not work. If you want to hire somebody to do it for, say, a party or a wedding or whatever, they will tell you that and offer to blow air across blocks of ice because misting just does not work.
And whenever does art humidity get above 80% anyway.
So what about like at the water park where they have the start button? Is that an option, do you think, where somebody could say, oh, there's a mister, and go and push the button, have it mist on them?
Quite sure,
and,
yeah.
You know, that's, at the water park, that's what we do with the kids.
I'm
Yeah,
also wondering,
and-
though, about mildew and getting all grungy, you know, kind of thing with, there's usually probably very small holes, you know, that would get clogged pretty easily.
I saw something terrifying on the TV the other night, which I wasn't watching much. It was a commercial for a shower head. And it showed somebody turning on the shower head, and all this ick came out of it. And they said, yeah, don't do this.
I'm sure we could get Mr. Trask to come up with a wording for a little plaque that says that the PAC is not responsible for anyone who catches Legionnaire's disease.
Don't drink.
Yeah.
But
Or athlete's foot.
But the shade factor and maybe like a seat component to it, like, you know, people just want to, you know, get off and just kind of sit for a minute and get some shade. I don't know.
We could also just
Urban
leave an
furniture is in
atomizer
our,
bottle.
yeah, urban furniture is, you know, actually spelled out in our ordinance, you know, as art project, so that might be, that's an interesting concept.
Well, Mercedes-Benz has no, it's Rolls-Royce has a seat now that will detect how much sweat you have on your back.
You know, I have to trade my rolls in for a new one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Oh
fine.
dear.
So Lucy, my recommendation is that you're on the right track and trying to be as general as you can with this and as broad as you can, and use some language, you know, like cooling and possible water feature and.
Okay,
I can do that.
all right, now
Need
the,
me and anything, you can, you know, call me or contact me about it somehow. Can we
Okay.
do that?
I don't think so.
no.
I don't think so.
No, okay, so we can't work
we're
on
No,
it.
you can
Very,
send it to
very
Diane.
Go between here.
Yeah, I think Diane gets everything. Now, the big question is budget.
I'd like to use $110,000 as a starting
Totally,
point.
yeah, because
Okay,
So 55%.
Megan, well, we're gonna do the budget update.
Yes, I happily have a budget update, and I apologize for my rookie mistake in reporting the budget for the first time. So this is actually, I think, somewhat good news that you'll like to hear.
I love it.
So, the balance as of September 30th, 2021 was $232,632. The revenues through March 31st of 2022 has been $20,189. And the expenditures through March 31st, 2022 remain the same of what I've reported, $37,329. But your balance as of March 31st, 2022 is actually $215,492.
Okay. Okay,
And that does not need to cover the Black Heritage
Yes, it
Project.
does.
yes, it
That
does.
is completely unencumbered.
No,
No.
No.
no,
No.
Oh,
that's before,
That leaves
so the 130,
58,000 unencumbered.
yeah.
how much? Grant?
58,000 unencumbered. Approximately.
Okay, and we still don't know how much we have coming in
And when?
and when,
That's the biggest issue,
right?
you know.
This is a thorny issue.
It is a funny issue.
It's kind of a wet blanket, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, and you've also talked about doing some murals out at the sports fields, you know, so you probably have the budget to do that project, you
Right.
know, but, you know,
Well, you also,
maybe.
right, I'm sorry, Diane.
No, but it's like when you do the call to artists, I mean, I don't know, you know, if it's something that would be done in the future, maybe at some point, you know, kind of thing, it's, I don't
Well, the other thing too is the Black History Project. You know, it's just like what we did with the Indianos. It's, you know, a third, a third, a third. So even though it's encumbered, it's not spent.
Depends on what he
That makes
writes
any
into the
difference.
contract, though. He hasn't
Right.
done his contract yet, so he hasn't done the ask. That's how Elizabeth did it. But
Right.
it doesn't mean that's how he'll do it.
Okay.
But-
I thought that was kind of a traditional city approach to do the
no,
third
that's-
deposit, third at a certain point, and then a third on completion.
That's something that he and she requested. I
Okay.
don't know if that's kind of the norm, Robert, in your experience? Is that-
Not always. Sometimes cities really have strange bullet point methods of payment. And, but generally, that's what we sort of look for, is something in front, you know, when it's going along, there's approval, you're making your progress, and then upon completion.
Well, we can talk to him about that, you know, kind of thing.
But you know, how long has it taken these bigger budget projects to go? Did they take longer than a year?
Well, Elizabeth's took
Yeah.
pushing 2 years, and again, that was also interrupted by COVID. I think she was anticipating like maybe 4 or 5 months, and it took her over a year.
But Stephen Oliver has 2 big projects.
Right.
So I don't anticipate that being very fast,
No,
so.
Suggestion, could we encumber $75,000 now and say, of our remaining known funds, we're going to dedicate $75,000 to this project? Then can we go to some grant sources, maybe starting with the county, since it will service their county-owned trail? Not be on their property, but still provide a service related to the trail.
Do we have a grant?
There are probably other granting agencies we can look in.
yeah.
You're shaking your head.
No, she asked me if we had a
Yes,
grant
if we had a
writer. I
grant
said no.
writer.
Oh,
No, you can, but yeah, but, you know, I think the point that, you know, encumbered is not spent. So if we encumber 75 for this, and we use the, you know, the rule of thirds, as it were, basically, we're not shelling out $210,000, or, you know, for both of these projects immediately. We're staggering the actual expenditures.
but what we are doing, and what my reasoning is we are dedicating this project as a priority, and we're setting aside the money before we spend it elsewhere.
Okay,
That's my reasoning.
Yes, otherwise it'll get frittered away in small
Yes.
projects. Yes. Yeah. Would the Black Heritage Project artist be open to being asked about his possible schedule so that we would know when monies would actually be required and when we would actually have to
Write a
Write a
pay the
check.
man?
Write a
Yeah.
check.
well, interestingly enough, I called him just before the meeting, just to get an update, and that was one of the things I asked him, was to come up with a firm timeline for, if not by, you know, as soon as possible, but definitely by the next meeting. So, as Diane indicated too, these big projects take a long time, you know, and this is something that's gotta be, you know, manufactured.
However, there's also, besides the artist timeline, there's also another timeline. So, first of all, he's got to come with his finished proposal to you, and he's got to get feedback and approval from you. And then, if you approve, it goes to the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners, you may ask him for changes, the Board of Commissioners might ask him for changes. That could take a while. So, you know, if he gives you a timeline on when he thinks he can, you know, realistically, once he gets approval and a firm design, you know, how long it'll take, you know, then we can kind of craft a timeline for the project, but, you know, those are all unknowns right now, you know, kind of thing, so.
But we're
So,
probably looking at a minimum of 4 months before he was even given the go-ahead, right? given all the
Minimum.
approvals.
Right.
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah, into the fall.
All right, so I'm going to entertain a motion to give priority and a potential encumbrance of $75,000 for the bike trail, shall we call it the shelter project? Or do you have
The-
a better term for it?
What did you call it?
Shelter project?
Yeah, or Safford,
Okay, the Safford project?
Safford Gateway Project, yeah.
Okay,
I like Safford Gateway.
that's, yeah. Okay,
Could we make it clear that the 75 is just seed money? We don't see limiting it to that. That would just establish the priority.
right, well, in the motion, if you want to make the motion, you could say initial encumbrance. Does that wording work for you?
You're much better making these than than I am. But yes, if we can incorporate that,
Okay, so would you like to make the motion?
yes.
Pen at the ready, Megan?
Before you do, perhaps you might want to also include that if it is an initial reservation of funds of 75,000 out of an anticipated spend of 110,000, you know, if you want to put it that way, then you've probably got all your bases covered.
I think I'd bump it to 125.
Greedy.
Greedy.
Okay,
Thanks for opening that door, Graham.
Go for it.
Okay.
With the realization that you're gonna have to have that money when the
Right.
time comes.
right,
Okay.
And if the money isn't
Yeah,
available,
it couldn't be awarded unless the money was available.
right.
exactly, and if the money isn't available, then it's a stop on the project.
Well, you do have a contract, right? And then there's a lot of clauses in those contracts about vacating it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's,
Right, right. Yeah, it's got to go through a lot of checks and balances, is, I think that's where all you're all going with this, so.
I move that we establish the Safford Gateway project as a priority, encumbering an initial $75,000 as seed money, with a projected project total of $125,000.
Megan, you have that? Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Graham? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Great job, Lucian.
Thank you.
This is another good
Thank you
project.
all.
Okay, well, we've kind of got the budget update already from Megan. The Tarpon Springs Library, the 25th anniversary, there's been no movement on that. Mea culpa, I've been trying to reach out to the Department of Agriculture, and we've just been playing phone tag for a possible grant on that one. Diane, I gather there's nothing in the CRA production art application?
No.
Can I go back to the budget update?
Sure.
Before you sort of rush right past it there.
Okay.
The additional 20,000 that you are adding back in there, presumably that's anticipated builds going on in the city that are going to produce some revenue at 0.75% of their total?
Well, those,
Or
Aren't
where does
any-
that come from?
there, well, that 20,000 of revenues has been, I think it was like,
It's already added.
yeah, it's already been added, so.
Okay, so
like-
that's projects that have been build projects that have been completed. They've already paid their 0.75% into the fund.
Correct.
Okay. Do we have any notion of a forecast of new builds that are in process that should contribute? You know,
Right,
because
yeah.
if we've laid, you know, I mean, if we've broken ground on a 400-unit apartment block along the side of 19 somewhere, then, you
Never
know,
happened.
presumably we'll, yeah, I know. I'm just using that as an example, Robert. Presumably, we would then know when roughly the project will be completed and when any revenues would come into the PAC for that, and similarly for smaller ones along the way.
Yes, well, I got an update from Mark Licouris on that about,
Was it the
before I
last
did the
meeting?
annual report. So, and of course, you had no way of knowing that. So I will, Diane, maybe if, you were copied in, I believe, on that, right?
Did he get his note, did we bring his notebook? Mhm. In your notebook, we have the past two meetings, and it should be in there, isn't it? Yeah, with a breakdown
I
of
think
of
I
new
only
ones.
went back one
Yeah, and
meeting
I
for
think it
you.
was also included in might have been in Pat McNeese's report. So, but yeah,
Okay.
we do have some idea of,
Yeah.
you know. In fact, interestingly, some of the projects are city projects, like the city clerk's office, and they are going to be paying into that also. And as of last evening, I sat to almost the end of the Board of Commissioners meeting to be kind of in the wings for the agenda item 15. I forget the resolution number, 2208 maybe? No, 2211, from a car wash on 19, a little south of the CVS. Used to be a foreign car dealership, and they initially indicated that they were going to be doing their own art project, but as of last night, they said that they're going to contribute to the art fund. So, and that was as of 11 o'clock last night. So, you know, we'll find out what that's going to be.
We can email it to you, Graham.
Yeah, okay. I was just wondering if it was possible to include a forecast in the budget update in future.
Well, and like Diane said at the beginning, we're gonna check with Pat McNeese before every meeting, and right now there's none in the queue that are forthcoming.
None new.
Yeah, other than
none
the
that
ones
are
we
new.
have.
Yeah,
That are new.
That are new.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Graham.
And yes, thank you, I'd appreciate that email. Thank
There
you.
was a fair amount of discussion last night at the BOC regarding the ordinance itself, and, you know, the need to revisit that. And so I
Yeah.
think we have some really true political will at this point to get ourselves together with some sort of a, you know, workshop. Okay. All right. Didn't
Great
mean-
minds think alike. Okay, even though it's not on the agenda, I had written in an ordinance workshop, and we really have to get to work on it because there have been so many changes, and as Bill just indicated, I think we have the will of, you know, the mayor and the new commissioners to, you know, have us revisit this. It really, in my estimation, and I know it was talked at the last meeting, it really needs a lot of work. I think one of the options is to, you know, eliminate the opportunity for people to do their own artwork because that's just an invitation to, you know, disaster. It just becomes extremely complex and complicated. And with a lot of projects on 19, I can't imagine this hopscotch, you know, art pieces up and down 19, people going 60 miles an hour past them. Also, Commissioner Eisner made an interesting commentary about a sliding scale. You know, in other words, instead of having that $1 million, you know, break point would be to establish something maybe like $500,000 and have a sliding percentage scale. So that's something I think we should also at least examine, you know, because, you know, one of the things I learned is that, you know, 10 $1 bills is the same as a $10 bill. So it's, you know, if we got, you know, more smaller infusions of money, I think that would add up for us also.
Well, I think the $10 million cap is also outdated.
Yes. Agreed. Any kind of cap is probably outdated
Yeah.
Yeah,
and unreasonable.
yeah. Bill, I know you were at the meeting last night.
No, absolutely. I just think we need to set a date for a workshop and, you know, some preliminary work on all of our parts coming to that meeting with some ideas to what
Right.
needs to be changed.
Right, I did speak to both Mayor Vaticiotis and Mark about this, so I really want to, push it as quickly as we can to get, a workshop on the schedule.
What
And-
date?
May I
Yeah.
ask what the process is for creating a workshop and
Well, I
and
have
so on?
to, you have to give me some dates, and then I have to check them out, make sure that we don't have another meeting on that date, kind of thing, because any meeting that you all do needs to be recorded. So, since,
And made public.
there's so many different committees and boards, and also they're doing, not, they're doing the strategic plan meetings as well and workshops, ongoing through May and June, so there's just a lot, going on as far as, meetings in different places, so. And then if you all are going on vacations during the summer, kind of thing, we need to make sure we have a quorum, for the workshop, so.
Well, actually, can we do it the other way around? Can we get some dates when there is availability and see what dates we can get a
Yeah.
quorum of people?
One other question, to keep ourselves steeped in reality, is there someone from city staff that should be here to help with that? I don't know whether it be legal, whether it be planning and zoning, whether it be, I'm not sure who the right person is. But I think we may have some grand ideas, but they may not be realistic. And I think we just need to keep it,
I'll ask Mark,
Okay.
who he recommends.
and it may even be Mark, I don't know.
It could be the city attorney, it could be planning
Yeah.
and zoning,
Right.
Right,
there's-
or it could be somebody from Mr. Trask's office,
Yeah.
because I know that they have a lot of consulting
But I think that'll
firms.
keep us from spinning our wheels and coming up
Yes.
with something that just isn't gonna work.
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
It might be helpful in the meantime, if you all would maybe look at some of the other cities' websites and see, that have public art. And just kind of maybe see if they've got their ordinances. If it's a city, it should be public domain, so.
Right.
I sent that one to you
Yeah,
for Doral,
exactly.
and-
So that was great. So, I mean, if you all would do some research so that you'll be prepared when we do get the workshop set, that would be very helpful too, because then you'll have a point of reference.
Right,
And then you could kind of like highlight the things that you like in particular, different ordinances, and that'll also expedite, the changes that you might want. That's just my
yeah, I'd also
suggestion.
like to get a handle on what the percentages are in other municipalities,
Yes.
to see what the traffic will bear,
Oh, the percentages for the,
yeah, for the contribution,
The art tax.
yes. Okay, any more thoughts or discussions on the ordinance, the workshop? Okay, we're good.
I like your idea of starting out with when this room is available and going from there.
Yeah,
Sooner
because
the
I think
better.
we can, I think we all feel that this is important enough to try to, wiggle it into
Well-
our schedules.
Perhaps a combination of the room being available and a suitable person from the city being available.
Sure,
that's the fun part.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, over to you, Diane, your fun project here,
What's that?
Art of Health.
Oh, okay. We're now at staff and committee comments and announcements, okay. Art of Health is this weekend, and it's shaping up to be very exciting. And we've got great weather, there's no rain in the forecast, so that makes me extremely happy. Please come out, it's 10 to 4 at Craig Park, and there's going to be different genres of music on the band shell, ongoing 45-minute sets, about 30 minutes between. There's going to be exhibitors. We're going to have in the recreational center, if you've got grandkids and you want to bring, we're going to have a whole section in the recreation building for, kids. Mr. Brad's music he's going to do a concert, and we've got storytime yoga for the kids and face painting. And then there's also some people from the recreation department that do classes there. There's going to be where you can kind of try 15-minute increments they're going to do for like different yoga, jazzercise, and what's the other one? Exercise. And, oh, and then there's gonna be like a tap dance, that she teaches tap dance for adults and things, so she's gonna be doing a little exhibition of that.
We can make a huge contribution to the Public Art Fund if I tap dance and charge admission.
Fundraiser. So, yeah, so it's gonna be a really nice event, and there's some interesting, exhibitors and everything. Advent Health is going to have some suntan dispensing machines, and they're going to have a mister. So check out their mister.
Can we borrow it?
Check out their
Let's hope for low humidity.
Yeah, exactly.
and clean
Clean
heads.
nozzles, yes,
Clean nozzles, thank you.
yeah. And-
Okay, this is not on your agenda, but I just wanted to mention that the annual report of this committee was presented to the BOC meeting last night, and it's archived on the YouTube Tarpon Springs City Hall channel. And thank you to Lucianne, Bill, and Graham for attending. And our very own Robert Stackhouse and his wife Carol Mickett are having an exhibit called The Balance of Water at the Lipa Ratner Museum. I believe the members' reception is the 20th of
Yes.
May.
Yes, it is.
Okay, okay.
And the LRMA members, it's free.
I
Right.
wasn't, I
Everyone
wasn't part
else.
of that.
Friday night.
I have an announcement to make.
Yes.
And I sort of have a bone to pick. So this is just fairly short, and I will get over it as soon as I can. I must admit that on April 26th of 2022, I was rather shocked and dismayed that I was passed over once again as a voting member of this Public Art Committee. I'm a volunteer who has fulfilled my obligations to this committee, and I do believe have made substantive contributions. Having watched the video of April 26 Board of Commissioners discussion and voting of committee candidates, I noticed that there was no discussion of my qualifications. Even one commissioner noted that he did not know this. So let me recount my art accomplishments for the record, since it may not be in the record. Over 28 sculpture and painting commissions, including public art commissions, some with budgets of up to or over $1 million. Over 80 solo gallery and museum shows. This is national and international. Over 40 group gallery and museum shows. Over 15 performance collaborations with 30 undergraduate theater production credits. Over 40 awards, keynote, art judging, etc. Over 14 corporate collections, including American Express, Prudential Insurance, Hallmark, and so on. Over 30 museum collections, including the Museum of Modern Art, National Gallery of Australia, National Gallery in Washington, D.C., and the Chicago Art Institute. Over 255 publication and media coverage. 3 individual National Endowment for the Arts grants. 3 endowed Distinguished Artist Chairs. Professor Emeritus at the Corcoran College of Art. Robert Stackhouse Art Center at Auburndale High School, from which I graduated. Honorary Doctorate in Visual Arts from the University of South Florida, from which I earned my BA. Artist at Sea on the Schmidt Ocean Institute research vessel Falkor, crossing both the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean. In 2022 alone, I was part of the collaborative team with choreographer Paula Kramer, dancer Helen Hansen-French, musician-composer John O'Leary, and artist-writer Carol Mickett. Performed at the Palladium Theater in St. Petersburg as part of the yearly dance celebration, Beacon 2022. I, along with Carol Mickett, have a solo show opening next Friday with a lecture on Sunday at our own Lipa Ratner Museum of Art. Balance of Water, May 20th to August 27th, continues our exploration of climate change and the cooling of our waters. We shall also include conversations with environmentalists and scientists. Carol Mickett and I just received another National Endowment grant for our project, Cooling Pinellas. And in September, we shall be in Washington, D.C. for a sculpture show at the Corcoran, now run by the George Washington University. The sculpture show is centered around my sculpture, Ghost Dance, which is in their collection. Washington, D.C. sculptors are invited to be part of the show, making pieces in response to my sculpture. Carol Mickett and I shall be giving a lecture and meeting with students. We shall see what the rest of 2022 brings. When I was passed over the first time, Commissioner Ventiokas called me and urged me to remain on the committee because he said my strong voice was needed. Being on a citizen committee means accepting the responsibility of speaking up about what we think is best for our Tarpon Springs. It is crucial to voice our opinions and not just go along. I have heard that my requested strong voice being described as making me difficult. I say no, it makes me responsible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I comment? I have learned so much being on this committee with Robert. Every time he comments, he has educated me in a way that is not available to me as a more art historical, museum-based person, and I thank you for that. As a practicing artist in this arena, you're the only one who has that particular voice. I have learned from it and appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Yes.
Unfortunately, none of us voted.
No. No.
And if you recall, I telephoned you and told you how much I've been looking forward to learning from you.
No.
Could you repeat the date of your exhibit again?
There's a card here.
Here, I have one. I have an extra here. We
You have
have
extra?
two extras, a couple extras, so you can give, everybody there gets one.
So we have added this component to to all of our meetings, so at the end, before we adjourn the meeting, staff and committee comments and announcements will remain on the agenda for each
Okay.
meeting, so.
Are there any staff or committee comments? Oh, we had comments from Robert. All right, then I will adjourn the meeting at 3:02 PM. Our next regular meeting is Wednesday, June 8th, 2022, at 2 PM in this room. Thank you all very much.